Thanks everyone for joining this roundtable. Let me get started just to give a context and a high-level understanding, and then we'll have the speakers introduce themselves. I'll give a little bit of overview who they are, but let them introduce themselves, and then we can get more detail. But just to give an overview, this is a roundtable discussion where we wanted to discuss how Gen AI is transforming the contact centers, fine, and support teams. What is really changing in the industry? How the companies are leveraging Gen AI for their contact centers? How they're transforming the customer experience by leveraging Gen AI? And we will cover up different perspectives around that. Fine, we will talk about we have Shalil who comes from Ozonetel. That's one of the companies that provides solution for that. So he will bring in that perspective in terms of what they are seeing in the industry, how their customers are adopting it. We have Damodar who comes from Data Safeguard. They essentially are responsible for data security, data privacy. So he will bring in a perspective which is going to be more around while we are leveraging Gen AI, how exactly how exactly we need to be careful about the data privacy, fine, because Gen AI also exposes you to a lot more risk from the data perspective, and that is something he will talk about what they are seeing in the industry, what is happening out there, and how exactly we can keep that in place while we adopt new technologies in there. And then we have Jeremy who is basically coming in more from a business perspective. He comes in with exposure towards with different businesses. He works with different businesses, help them transform their processes, and he brings in that perspective in terms of what's the art of possible, what he's seeing in the industry, how he's seeing this is impacting the customer experience, what is his perspective on the art of possible leveraging Gen AI, and what are different use cases that you can explore on. So, and just about me, I'm vice president from Intera. I'll be moderating this discussion and bringing in perspective from our side what we have seen with the customers, what kind of requests we are getting from customers on the similar kind of transformations. So I already talked about. So we have Shalil, Jeremy, and then we have Damodar and myself who would be responsible for would be covering this whole discussion in there. Just to get this moving, I mean, just wanted to start with few of the stats, fine, and just to cover up how exactly we are seeing this particular problem statement. So essentially, when you think about Gen AI for contact centers, fine, it's about ensuring a delicate balance between your efficiency, customer experience, and security. Fine, these are the three key pillars that are very important. While you are trying to improve your productivity, you need to ensure the productivity doesn't come at the cost of compromising on the customer experience, and that's very important. Similarly, it shouldn't really expose you to additional security risks, and that is something you need to keep in mind how exactly you can manage that piece in there. I've just tried to just to kickstart this, try to get some stats out there from different reports to basically talk about how industry is progressing. So just on the efficiency side, fine, I mean, and the adoption side, so definitely Gen AI is one of the key uh, pillars that everyone is looking to adopt. In fact, as per one of the Gartner report, almost 80% of customer service and support teams would be using Gen AI in some shape and form. What's going to be effectiveness of that is still not really defined, but they would be using in some shape and form, either as chatbots or in some cases agents that are helping the developers to further expedite their piece of work, so in different shape and form, fine. 60% of customers have used chatbots in today's scenario, fine. Now those may not be, not everything is going to be a Gen AI chatbot, but they are using chatbot in some shape and form, fine. And 10% of agent interactions today are being directed through conversational AI. By 2026, that's the kind of number that they're looking at now. The 80% and 10% don't really coincide, but that's essentially what we wanted to talk about, and Shalil can bring in the perspective why exactly there's a gap and how exactly this thing is going to improve further, fine. Similarly, when we look at a perspective from customer experience perspective, fine, and look from how exactly the customer experience is getting transformed. One of the key things that we need to keep in mind, and this is something that I could gather from different sources in there, irrespective of whether it is Gen AI or not a Gen AI, end of day, the most important metric for any contact center team is customer satisfaction. So there's no way they can compromise on that, and that's what they track on. And it is very important for them to keep that in mind while they are implementing this technology. And if you look at it, 55% of customers have said that they are ready to pay extra if they get a better experience as a part of customer support, and they are pretty. And one of the stats that I came across is they are very they're I mean, in case they get one or two experiences, bad experiences, they are ready to switch. So it is important that the contact center, and contact center is essentially the key touch point for any customers in any business, right? So it's important that those things are kept in mind as we implement technology, and don't really leave the customer experience behind in there, right? And just on the positive side, similarly, if customers do have good interactions to contact centers, they have a positive experience. 97% of customers are very happy to refer that brand within their network, right? It could be anything, whatever they are ready to share it with friends, family, and recommend them to start using that. That kind of gives you an idea that how how important the customer experience is going to be, even though as we move ahead with various technologies, it is not something that can be left behind. Last but not the least, the security. Fine. As you open up Gen AI, as you start seeing your agents using Gen AI solutions out there, it kind of exposes you to a lot of additional risks. Right. There could be AI manipulation. There could be areas where AI can be manipulated by a competition or other things that can actually give kind of recommend you on the wrong, or take customers on the wrong direction. You can do a lot of those things in there, find by leveraging AI, and that is something that needs to be that companies need to be very watchful about. Fine. Similarly, as you are leveraging Gen AI, you are also exposing your data, so you need to be very careful in terms of how exactly you are leveraging Gen AI. Is it at enterprise level? Not really. How you are avoiding those kind of loopholes that exist in there, fine, for your data to get exposed. Similarly, it with the whole GDPR and other things, as the Gen AI technologies get adopted, your exposure towards the compliance gaps is a lot more compared to the traditional contact centers, where you were pretty restricted. You had a common knowledge base which was restricted within the organization, and that's what everyone was using. It was a lot more easier for you to manage those compliances. But as you get into Gen AI, you need to be very watchful, because you kind of expose yourself to a lot of compliance gaps. And these are some of the challenges that industry is facing today as they continue to look at Gen AI. And these are some of the, I would say, things that inhibit them from or going all out on adopting Gen AI. And that is something that we'll cover today. I thought it would be great to get the perspective from Shalil in terms of how their solution gets that, and also from Jeremy in terms of what customer experience perspective that he is seeing from here. And then we have Damodar, who can talk about how their solution kind of help in these security related challenges in there. I'll just take a pause here. I mean, to just for everyone to absorb this before I get it kick started, and I will have Shalil talk about that. But let just take a few seconds of pause for everyone to absorb this, and I will have Shalil take it from here to talk about what he's seeing in the industry, how his solutions are getting adopted by various customers in there. What is a perspective that he is saying, or what kind of requests they are getting from customers, and how they are looking at it. Over to you, Shalil.
Sure, thank you, Manish. I think excellent context being set by you, and some of the data points are quite glaring in front of us guys. I would just simply say, guys, I would start, but feel free to ask question if anybody has. Uh, Feel free to interrupt in between as well. So Manish, what you said about Gen AI and contact centers, I think we have to take a step back as what used to be the contact center, why we created a contact center, and so uh, traditional world, we were trying to reach out to the customers. Customers were trying to reach out to us, and at a global level, we were trying to make sure that the customer, when they reach out to us or we reach out to the customer, we are able to solve certain issues, problems, concerns they're having it. So this was a process which started from service, which never started from marketing, which never started from sort of purchase
Yeah.
or pre-purchase or something. It started with the post-purchase. Now, as customers started moving to different channels, which I say digital channels, and there are today 40 plus digital channels, they started expectations of the customer started moving around the clock, right? Saying that I would like to sort of understand from your Telegram channel as one of the digital channel, and can I get a EMI calculated for my loan? What is my premium due for my insurance? I can also do a contact center call, but at the same time, the agents which are sitting at the contact center could not move to different channels in an integrated way. If they have to move to different channels, then the different processes has been created, silos has been created. So there is a digital team of contact center which only manages digital channel. There is a physical team of contact center which only manages physical, and then calling sort of architecture. So all of this started becoming a silo. People did not know how to now build an integrated solution. It becomes complicated as well because we are doing API integrations, right? And how many API? 40 integrations per day. You would need to build it that way. So it become a humongous task for us. With Gen AI, what happened is that now I can integrate intelligently. I don't need to, if you today, every morning at 6 o'clock, I set up an autopilot agent, which is agentic AI, to give me a news or feed of last 24 hours. So every day morning, I don't have to read newspaper or visit websites of different sort of geographies, US, UK, and etc. I will get a simple agent giving me all the information saying that this is what happened politically, this is happened economically, and this is what happened business. And it's a dashboard which comes up across the board. It talks about markets and going up and down and etc. So within sort of 5 minutes, I am well versed with what has happened in the last 24 hours, right? And that's where the real power of Gen AI comes into play because I'm going to use this for my business decision making. Now, when I am looking at Gen AI for contact centers, uh, people are now looking at two vectors, and that's some measurable vectors. One vector, how do I increase my upselling, cross selling, and that ultimately increase my revenue? Or how do I decrease my cost of servicing my customers, though I'm increasing the experience of my customer? Now, it's a never heard fact, right? So either you can focus on revenue or you can focus on the cost side. Focusing on both the sides concurrently with a solution, I think Gen AI plays a very important role. So, what are the things customers are asking today? They are saying that not only an agent can call customers or customers can reach out to the agents, can it be automated completely as voice bots? So, we are deploying to many of our contact center solutions. First line of defense becomes automated AI, Gen AI voice bots. And these are agentic in nature. And I can create 20,000 agents behind the scene with one voice. In fact, yesterday I was here in the UGM in right now in Miami, and we were talking about how virtual receptionist can be created for any business. And the simple task of virtual receptionist is just transferring the calls to the right function, right department, right people, talking about the companies and so. And we named that as Veronica. So I've started now jokingly saying that, I have a new girlfriend called Veronica, right? On that side. So, so that's first line of defense. The second line of defense is uh, 25 to 26% is first time right. Like I want to take this transformation to a 75 to 80% first time right. Your average handling time will go down from a 5 minute to a 2 minute. And practically we have done that. How can Gen AI be used? Now there is a co-pilot which could be used. There could be an AI assistant which could be used. So the right information at the right time. I think that second pillar is very important. So even if I am a human being, I'm assisted by AI assistant, which is basically a 20-year-old experienced person in my organization created yesterday.
Good. So
Okay.
what I have seen, Shalil, I mean, what's the kind of mix that you have in terms of your voice? I mean, just your perspective, fine, voice versus the non-voice assisted bots that you provide, fine. What's the kind of mix that you have seen on the adoption side? Where do you
We
see more adoption happening today?
people, we are seeing, I mean, I have more pipeline on Gen AI to sort of fulfill as an order. than actually on my traditional one. We are
Okay.
looking at 30 to 40% of the market moving on Gen AI side.
Got it.
Okay.
And
So
that's
which
more
means
towards the voice side or like even
voice,
the agent voice. Okay.
voice,
Got it.
voice.
Yeah.
On the voice
Got
side,
it.
the first line of defense would be the voice. Then it
Yeah.
comes, agent will be used. The human being agents will be used. And don't take me wrong, guys, that we are replacing human beings, but they will add more value, more complex processes where actually, for example, I want to know what is my interest rate of calculating an EMI, how long duration, etc. Then the human being will play an important role. But a basic processes, vanilla processes, first line of defense, giving some first information to the customers, I think voices are going to play a very important role.
Got it. Got it. No, that's a good
So
perspective, Shalil. I think that kind of brings me to a short segue, which I wanted Jeremy to talk about. You talked about like how this is getting adopted. Fine. I mean, you talked about Veronica and some of those examples in there, which is great to hear. So I wanted to open up floor to Jeremy to talk about his experience. Fine. What is he seeing from the industry side? Where exactly he's seeing those use cases? And while Shalil brought a perspective from the technology and solution side, I wanted Jimmy, if you can talk a little bit from the customer experience perspective in there. Find how it is being leveraged. What is it that you are seeing in the industry? Is it really improving it? Do you see it's a mixed opinion? I mean, it would be great if you can uh, talk a little bit from your side.
You got it. You got it, Manish. And Shalil, I'm going to come back to some of your points, especially around the augmented agent and then also the omni-channel support, because that's what consumers are really asking for. But Manish, I'm going to start with one of your statistics. 55% of the consumers said they're willing to pay money to get a better experience.
Yeah.
And 87% of all customers, when it comes to contact centers, feel that customer satisfaction is their key metric. If you look at those two things, we're disconnected. The reason consumers want to pay more is because they feel like their time is more valuable than the service that they're getting today. So if we can go ahead and really focus on the service aspect of it, that's going to be one of the things, regardless if we're talking about inbound contact centers or outbound contact centers. Because when you think about an inbound contact center, that's really about how do I efficiently solve a query or a problem at a high level of satisfaction according to a policy, whether it's canceling a subscription, setting up a replacement phone that you may have, checking your account balance. The one thing that consumers are really asking for is omni-channel support. A consumer, whether it's a chatbot, whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, whether it's social media, they want to get resolution to their problem. And their expectation is it doesn't really matter what media I use, that I'm calling the company. I'm calling a company to get resolution on my issue. And all of that data should be readily available for somebody to go ahead and assist me. So Shalil talked about kind of this omni-channel support structure. It's real. That's what the customers want today. And I also think in large part, that's why this industry sector, it was about, if you look at the global call center market, about 350 billion in 2024. In 2030, it's expected to be 500 billion. That's a
Yep.
significant growth that people are going to do. But it comes down to, what's the ability? People want to make this a people problem. And if we think about the people that are working there today, what I want you to think about is anybody with kids will really appreciate this. If your kid is asking you what they should do as a career, would you really tell them high stress, limited career growth, intense performance pressure, and low compensation? Is that the job you want your kids to go into? The reality is when you look at human call center agents today, that's what they think of call centers: high stress, limited career growth, intense performance metrics and pressures, and low compensation. And this is where that concept of augmented agents come into play. Let the augmented agent read the information regarding my last 3 calls. They'll be able to do that significantly faster than a human will. Let that augmented agent see what I did across and give that augmented agent kind of the first chance to go ahead and resolve my problem quickly and efficiently. And then if they can't, then go over to the human agent. By doing that, you've actually created a situation where your individual employees have a higher career path because they're going to be working on the more difficult problems, the more difficult queries, and that user experience is going to be quicker. It's going to be more meaningful because now they're going to get fed to them the relevant data points from the Gen AI agent to go ahead and solve the more complex problems. It's no different than a lot of other problems in other areas. That last mile is extremely complicated to solve, and it's extremely costly to solve. So I really like what Shalil's talking about in terms of, hey, omni-channel support. That's what consumers want. When you go home tonight and somebody made you dinner, think about where all of those sides and dishes came from. It likely was not the same place. There were probably some of them that came from a Costco, some of them that may have come from traditional grocery, some of them may have come from Amazon. The whole concept of omni-channel is there in almost every aspect of our life, including call centers. So I think that's one of the key things is the consumer wants quicker resolution, and they want a higher quality resolution, and the consumer wants to be able to engage you across multiple platforms. And the absolute worst thing you can do is start over with them. That information is already there. Let it flow seamlessly across the channels. And then as it's flowing, really use that as a way to develop what's the true root cause. How do I get that high level of condition of satisfaction to the consumer in the most effective way possible? So those are kind of a couple things that I'm seeing in an industry that's really growing, both inbound and then also outbound is another area that I think is going to continue to grow. Whether it's things like get out to vote campaigns, whether it's product recalls, whether it's companies marketing their services to call potential prospects to try to get meetings set up on things. So I think both inbound and outbound are both going to continue to grow. And I think it's staying focused on the principles that time is very valuable to consumers. They want to feel like they're getting value and they're getting their resolution resolved in a timely manner.
So that's great, Jimmy. That's a good perspective that you brought in, and one things which I did not have in terms of the human angle of an agent. Find how, which we talk about customer experience, we talk about efficiency. We never and that's we never thought about how Gen AI is going to change life of the actual agent. Fine, which is a really great example and great thing that you brought up. Fine, but the one thing which will come back, Jimmy, which kind of still and both to you and Shalil, which is something that really picks that really comes out, that 43% of customers still like speaking to a real agent vis-a-vis Gen AI, but we'll come back on that. But just a segue from Jimmy, your discussion in terms of information flow, whether it's inbound or outbound. Fine, there's a lot of information that keeps on flowing. The idea here is to streamline that information, to make it enable your agents to do faster. But as we bring that information in, and that's probably I would like to bring Damodar in. It kind of also in a traditional call center, information was there. Fine, it was always within an enterprise, it completely secured. We are able to manage, even though PI information is getting moved here and there around, but it is still within the call center, and there's a way the call centers had structured themselves to ensure that PI gets preserved. Fine, but now as we bring Gen AI, there's definitely those elements where it can get opened up. Fine, that exposes to a lot of I would say risk around security and other things, and that's where probably Damodar, if you can talk a little bit about how you are seeing. Fine, what is your experience? Have you seen specifically in the contact centers? Have you seen customers reaching out to you from your solutions perspective, fine, or how exactly you are looking at that particular problem statement. If you can talk a little bit from the security perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you, Manish, for having me here. I'm Damodar Sahu. I'm the co-founder and chief growth officer at Data Safeguard. So we are the privacy tech company and rated as the world's #1 data privacy management platform, powered by our patented and responsible ethical AI called Cognizable Computing Engine. So Manish, I will give you a perspective about why data privacy is critical for customer trust, and especially in customer support and call center. I was listening to Salil mention about the first line of defense, right? So privacy is the first line of defense, and security follows. We all know that privacy matters, right? Since our childhood, we have been told that privacy matters, privacy matters. So let me talk about why data privacy is critical for customer trust. So customer interaction are the heartbeat of any enterprises, right? We all know that. And trust is the pulse that keeps it alive. Every chat, every call, every email carries a fragments of customers' digital identity. Let it be PII, personally identified information, or maybe PHI, protect the health information, PFI, finance information, both sensitive and non-sensitive. They are stories, they are preference, they are expectations. When organizations protect data with care and integrity, they don't just comply with regulation, they honor a relationship, right? So in an era where customer experiences are increasingly AI driven, right? And the data privacy become a new currency of trust. Like customers are more, they will become more loyal to a brand or enterprise that respects their boundaries, provide transparency, like while signing a consent, your preference management, cookie management, right? Or use their information responsibly, right? Second, how we can integrate privacy by design principles in modern call center. Privacy can no longer be an afterthought. It is not a compliance checkbox. You just tick it. It's not like that at this moment. You know, there every 11 seconds there is a ransomware attack. We all know that, and every 39 seconds there is a data breach happens. And the data breaches are leading to synthetic fraud, and the synthetic frauds are leading to financial crime. Every year, entire world is losing close to 3 trillion US dollar because of this financial crime, mostly including digital scams. We heard about it, right? So it must be woven into a operational DNA of every customer touch point. Let it be chat, email, call, right? So rightly, Salil and Jeremy talk about the modern call center can integrate privacy by design. How? Embedding automated, let's say, consent and purpose management. Automated means it should be, let's say, today I sign a consent or my preference. Tomorrow I should go and edit it, delete it, right? That is into a CRM workflow. Using role-based access control to ensure agents not only view data necessary for the solutions. If I'm not supposed to look at your social security or in Indian context, let's say PAN card or Aadhaar card, then I should not, right? There should be a role-based access control, right? And it should be automated. Implementing real-time reduction, what does that mean? So on real-time, let's say where the data breaches are happening, where the data is mostly on downstream or upstream, right? And if a automated way we can go and do the confidential data discovery on real time, right? Where are my confidential data in terms of personality, PII, PHI, PFI, sensitive, non-sensitive? Once it identified, can a system can go and real time reduction all those PII or PHI, so that after that, if a data breach happens, then of course the data breach of no use to the fraudster or the bad actor. Or anonymization of tools in voice, chat logs, let's say writing an email, right? And training is very much required, every support professional, right? To become a privacy ambassador, turning compliance into a culture. It should be a privacy culture. When call centers operate with transparency, empathy, accountability, customers sense it, and that is what drives the loyalty beyond the customer service, right? As I speak, we are actually implementing a large privacy program in a large BPO center out of US and implementing in 22 countries. So what are the best practices and compliance contribution? Organizations should align their contact center operation with, let's say, GDPR, let's say CCPA, CPRA, or let's say recently adopted a law in DPDP in India or PPDA in Canada, PDPL, right? I mean, 144 countries on earth, they have a privacy law at this moment. And I think by December next year, I think 75% countries on earth, they will have a privacy law. And the privacy data breach fines are not in millions these days, it's billions. Recent one you have seen, Google has paid 3.5 billion to both US as well as European Union. So data breaches will definitely will happen because the fraudsters are super smarter than us, right? So how we can actually documenting data flow and retention timeline, ensuring secure data localization and encryption, automatic data subject access right or data principal access right, request for a faster and very accurate response, and conducting regular privacy impact assessment. That is, and that should be automated PIA. And PIA can be data PIA, process PIA, or third-party PIA to identify and mitigate the risk proactively, the gap scoring, the risk scoring, right? And the privacy fast call center doesn't just protect data, it protects reputation, compliance, and customers' lifetime value. So the future of contact center, as per me, where privacy meets technology, the contact center of the future is not merely a voice hub, it should be a digital trust center, right? And when AI, analytics, and automation transforming support ecosystem, the privacy will evolve from a compliance function to a core differentiator, right? Like products like responsible ethical AI or privacy automation or real-time monitoring will define how the business interact with customer. So in coming years, as per me, organizations that lead with responsibility, empathy, and intelligence will actually stand out, and privacy will be no longer being seen as a legal necessity. It will be celebrated as a human right and brand value.
So no, it makes sense. I thought you kind of brought in some good perspective on the security side, Damod. I wanted to go back to Shalil, and talk from their solution perspective. And how does their solution address these kind of privacy concerns? Fine. Like Damodar brought on some things, the what data has to be shown to what agent, what they should be able to see, what they shouldn't be able to see. And I'm sure that is their every customer that you have reached out to would have brought up those kind of challenges in there, right? So if you can talk a little bit, how does your solutions address those?
Sure. So Manish, it's a great question and it's an evergreen question, whether it's Gen AI or no Gen AI. Security with enterprises is like a heartbeat for them. Yeah. It has to function. It has to function at a level where we are always way ahead, a step ahead against the industry of hackers, I would call it. So what has happened is, and as Dr. Damodar said, that the conversions have started happening across geographies, whether it's DPDA or PDA or GDPR, etc. There are three pillars which has come out very clearly. First pillar, transparency. Second pillar is accountability. So if you see the traditional model, these are the two pillars they are built on. Okay. So transparency and accountability. My system will give you full transparency and full accountability. Because Gen AI has come into place, there is a third pillar which has become very important. And if I ask you to guess it, it will be difficult, because that pillar is called explainability. Okay.
Got it.
Because who would take the liability? What if somebody is advising from a Gen AI perspective? And therefore, it has become for countries to manage these three pillars rather than managing two pillars of accountability and transparency. Now, so the law that has all taken care of saying that, I need to know explainably that what has happened behind the scene and how it is going to happen. So this is conversion. All countries are converting their legals and policies and etc. on these three pillars. Even enterprises want that information called explainability. And please explain how Gen AI has taken a decision. If you are asking a Gen AI to take a decision, if you're asking a Gen AI to give you a recommendation, how that recommendation has come, what explainability you will bring into, right? So now in our parlance, what we do is we say that the data has to be separated from what large LLM models are look like. So we are not using public models, we are using provisional models. And these provisional models we keep on updating on a regular basis, but we are not sending data on a public cloud or a public LLM. Like anybody today is using a chat GPT, we are not using that model. We are using a provisional LLM models, and across the board there are now 5 and 6 of large LLM models which exist, and we use the provisional which are for enterprises, but they don't expose the data. The data never goes to any of those servers or infrastructure or data pipes or etc. That information lies within the organization, whichever way. I mean, it could be a private cloud, it could be a hosted one, or it could be their own public cloud.
What's the most and sorry, didn't want to interrupt Shalil, but just to get that perspective in line, right? What's the most regulated environment implementation that you have come across? Right? What was the experience? I mean, if you can talk about that, will give us a better context.
I think banks and financial institutes. Okay, it's a straightforward answer. But most of the organizations today are really worried about data privacy. So data we cannot let out, right? I mean, though we want to understand what Manish persona looks like, right? What Manish does, his or her personal life and professional life, and if I can build something as a persona, I can recommend you better, right? I mean, I can recommend your holidays better. I can recommend your vacations and your travels and plans better based on your personal preferences. But we will make sure that the data has to be protected. The privacy data cannot move out.
Yeah.
And it is not only data at rest or data in transit, right?
Data in transit too, yeah.
Okay. No, there's a third thing, which is data in processing.
Absolutely.
Because if I deploy quantum today, it will hack within seconds what we will take 30 years to hack any system, right?
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
data in processing, which is your CPU largely, is also required to be encrypted today. In transit, in rest, and in processing, both sort of three pillars has to be taken care. And we do that. Today, we are on a AWS cloud. We use provisional models. Any model my customer wants, we use that. And these provisional models are segregated between the privacy data and the data to get the answer. Then we use our API, our own AI model, to integrate the privacy data with the models so that we have an answer for the question. And then we integrate with the channels in an encrypted manner. So I can integrate with Telegram channel, LinkedIn channel, Instagram channel, I can Facebook, chatbots, voice channel, contact centers. Now, all of this has to be integrated in a single glass of pane.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's single glass of pane. An agent today simultaneously can respond to 3 WhatsApp customer queries and can talk to a person.
Yeah.
So an agent is a very knowledgeable person now, as a human being, I'm saying. And this knowledge is being augmented by Gen AI or a agentic AI as large we call it. So hope it's a crisp answer, but hope I'm able to clarify how
that kind of clarifies it. And I think the other thing which Shalil, which probably just gives an idea in terms of how it is getting. So absolutely, I think that there are definitely going to be nuances to specific industries, but on a high level, it gives an idea in terms of how your solution or how exactly in the industry this problem is being handled. But the other perspective, which again I'll go around and come back to Jeremy on that, in terms of as you bring in the security, fine, and then there's definitely an element of your data privacy that you brought in, fine. But every security brings in the additional level of checks, additional level of clarity. So a good example I'll take, and probably and Jeremy can talk more on that. But a simple example today, for me to get to someone to talk to on a call, or forget about before someone can actually start resolving, there's a multiple level of checks I have to go through, fine. And that's something which is also I see is the pain point in how the implementations are done. So a lot of times companies, the enterprises know about the customer, but just because their systems are not integrated and the data is not coming in through, what happens is you are being asked for the same information multiple times, and that becomes like a painful experience for a customer. Because as Jeremy pointed out last time, he said end of day, what matters to customer? Getting his problem solved, getting his problem solved in a quality manner, and getting his problem solved at earliest. But if I'm spending 10 minutes to get to someone to even listen to me what my problem is, just because I'm going through those checks and the companies have not integrated the systems together, that becomes a pain point in there. So Jeremy, I mean, just wanted you to talk a little bit from that perspective in terms of your experience and what you have seen on that side of that. How does the experience changes with that?
Yeah, correct. it is probably the largest barrier to why people want to talk to a human. But at the end of the day, if you double click on that 44%, people don't want to actually talk to a human. People just want their issue resolved. All I want to do is get seats together for my family on that flight. Nobody, the consumer doesn't really care who they're talking to. They've just, over time, because of these inefficiencies where you call and you have to put in your account number. Well, I don't have my account number on me. Well, if you don't have your account number, put in your social security number. And now I'm in a public place and I'm being asked to do this. So some of those security thresholds that exist today in today's inefficient world actually create more security risk than security protection itself. And then I think the second point is so incredibly valid, which is when I make contact with you, I should get this key, no matter who I'm transferred to, what happens next. I've already been validated, and validating me one time up front with my phone number and then maybe one or two other data points, and then allow me to go on to the next step will significantly decrease the barrier in terms of time and also improve satisfaction. And that's what's going to change that 44%. If people feel like they're getting their issue resolved quicker, they're going to be more likely to go ahead and do an automated process. The other thing we've got working in our advantage right now is with AI, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Copilot, Chat GPT, consumers are getting used and they're getting comfortable on how to talk to AI. They're able to express that more. Now, if we combine that, and this will occur, take the airline industry itself. The airline industry is still very antiquated. No matter what airline you call, press 1 if you want to make a new reservation, press 2 to update an existing reservation, press 3 to do this. But they know your call patterns, they know your data, they know your ticket. And in regards to data privacy, I'm not saying expose any of that. Shalil had it spot on, which is, hey, we're not releasing all of that information. We're doing a lot of that locally. But if I've family of 4, mom, dad, 2 kids, their seats are not assigned, and you're calling 3 days before your flight's ready to take off, we have the intelligence through Gen I to have that be a dynamic prompt. Press 1 if you would like to get your seats together. Press 2 if you would like to make a change in your flight or cancel it. Press 3 for another issue. We know we have a high probability to be able to understand what that consumer may be asking for. So why have all of the old way of thinking regarding the prompts? Why not have those prompts be probability based upon the likelihood of the time, the ticket, the previous responses from that consumer on what they're likely calling about? And if you do that, you'll solve the 44% problem, because it's not that people want to talk to humans. People want an efficient manner to get their problem resolved. And unfortunately, the experience of the years past has been a lot of times I actually need a human to resolve my issue. But as we introduce more Gen I, as we get smarter with things, as we get more dynamic with things, consumers don't care. Consumers at the end of the day want their problem solved at a high level of satisfaction in a meaningful amount of time.
Got it. No, that makes sense. That's a good perspective that you brought up, Jamin. And I just want to just from the one thing which I wanted to really highlight in terms of the point that I want to harp, and that's exactly the stats also saying, fine. End of day, what matters to consumer is getting the problem solved. So your perspective is like, if you double click on that 47%, you will probably realize it is not that they want to talk to the agent. It's they want to talk to agent because probably today the systems are not connected so well. that they are able to really get that context out there. And that's where I thought Shalil brought in that how exactly the solutions that they are developing, find that they have in place, is essentially trying to bring that context together, find the agent assist and get that some of those things in there. And bring all that data together. Now, the one question which again a little disconnect, but I mean wanted to get that perspective, and wanted Damo to talk a little bit about. So when we just going from what you have seen so we know the typical compliances, the data privacy things, and all that stuff in there. But have you seen any other challenges from the data security perspective in the industry? And probably, and Shalil, you can also talk. Shalil, Jamie, feel free to add on this. I mean, I wanted to get in general. Fine, Damo, you can talk from security,
Sure.
and Shalil, you can,
Privacy,
and Jamie,
yeah.
you can talk from others. But wanted to understand what is it that you have heard which is like still stopping customers from taking that step on adopting Gen AI? What is it that you have heard from security perspective? And Shalil, if you have heard from technology, or Jam, you have heard from experience perspective, if you can talk a little bit about those kind of challenges that you have heard from customers.
Sure. So let me give a perspective on how we can actually redefine the contact center where AI meets trust, right? That was trust is a key at this moment. So the contact center at this moment is no longer just a service function. We all know that, right? It is becoming the emotional and ethical interface of an enterprise, right? As AI or agentic AI reshapes the way organizations interact with customers, the real question is not how intelligent our systems are, but how responsible they operate. That is the key. So my experience, what the customer should or the enterprise should keep in mind while implementing AI and modernization solutions, AI modernizations are not about replacing people. I think Jeremy and Salil talk about that, right? They are about amplifying human potential, right? So enterprises must begin with some clarity why they are modernizing. It is not enough to automate. One must automate with empathy, right? If you don't put that empathy in the center, or if you don't come with the human touch, then it's a problem, right? So the foundation should include alignment with business purpose and customer experience goals. A clear framework of, let's say, data accountability, privacy, security, and transparency is very much required. And readiness for ethical use of AI that enhance trust, not just efficiency. That's why I have been talking about the responsible and ethical AI, right? So when customers approach modernization through this lens, they must form transformation to transcendence, right? Creating an experience that are intelligent, inclusive, and trustworthy.
Makes makes sense, and that's a good point. And Jamie, I know you have been working on this whole ethical use of AI concept. If you can talk a little bit from that, and
Yeah.
Shalil will come back to you to kind of cover and kind of give a closure in terms of how big end of day you are like code that is basically the glue that is bringing all these things together. So go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I think that consumers, customers, they have an expectation. They're trusting you with their data. They have an expectation that you're going to treat their data in a ethical, fair, meaningful way. And I think the other part is they're not afraid for some of that data to be used if then it goes ahead and benefits them. I'll use the airline example again. That hey, it's a ticket, 2 adults, 2 kids. It's okay to go ahead and profile that you're traveling with kids. It's not okay to go ahead and have the names and the birth dates available for other people to see. So I think we as technologists, we as business leaders, have to understand where can I use the data to provide value to the customer, the consumer itself, and then where is my responsibility to go ahead and safeguard that? Because it's a scary metric when you said, hey, there's a data breach every 30 seconds. Like that scares consumers. So, take the airline industry again, look at your premier companies, Emirates, compare that to your economy companies. And let's not pretend that consumers don't think about the difference. They're putting in credit card information, they're putting information about their children and so forth. So it's a real issue, and it's something that as that data is so readily available, it's an area that companies really have to focus on, because you are one data breach away from having a very significant cut in your revenue, and winning back customers in competitive markets is near impossible in 2025, because there's just too many other options. So you've got to be able to use the data in a meaningful way to drive value, but also protect it. And if you don't do that, you won't be a part of the growth in 2030, because your market share may have diminished to the point where you're no longer viable.
Makes sense, Jami. And Shalil, over to you. I mean, if you can talk a little bit in terms of how you guys are addressing those kind of challenges in the industry, and then probably either we have another 4 minutes. I mean, I'll probably, we can then conclude and open it. There's one question which I think so is aptly for you, but we will come to that.
Thank you. I heard Jomi's comment, and he's absolutely right. So when we are going and implementing solutions for our customers, whether it's a contact center as BPO operations, or it is a contact center at the customer's end, which is sort of their own premises, I see 5-6 things. One, industry is moving towards not next best action, but next best experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So contact centers, the name itself is wrong. We shouldn't be discussing contact centers. We should be discussing experience centers.
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing is we should change the name of the industry itself. It is no more a contact center industry. It is an experience center industry. So first thing, because as soon as you change the name, your outlook, your vision, your purpose will change. And when it changes, you will deploy in the right fashion. So one is that. When it becomes experience center, Manish and the audience, then you're looking at not best, next best action, you're looking at next best experience. That's one thing. Second thing is shiny syndrome, right? I mean, Gen AI, write a poem, sing a song, create a, banana images with the prime ministers of the world and presidents of the world and so and so. These are all shiny syndrome. When it deploys into a contact experience center, then you are looking at real business value, right? How much of the issue we are solving. Like I said, one of the metric is industry benchmark is 25% is only first time right. 75% they are follow-ups, they are talking to managers, experts, and its average handling time goes to 5 to 6 minutes. Can I bring it down to 2 minutes or a 1 minute? So, shiny syndrome, real business process, and how do we solve the problem? Third thing, which is to be remembered, is do not be in forever pilot mode. This is something like a UI UX, right? Okay, fine, this poem is great, but can we get better? Can we get better? And we are always in this pilot mode. Experimentation and pilot. I mean, business leaders, specifically in the experience center mode, they should be looking at implementing few things as production. Fourth thing, which is sort of very important and is the principle today, is do not compete with human beings, guys. Gen AI is not competing with human beings today. And suddenly, we have started saying that we will be better than human beings. We will create a architecture and an infrastructure and a response which is much better than human beings. No way. Human beings have 80 billion neurons. And if I asked a human being to break the Gen AI in 5 seconds, they can break it. So right now, it's not competing with the human being. It is competing with the use case. Correct. Right? And as soon as you know the use case you are competing with, here you go. You are not in a pilot mode, you're in a production mode. And third thing I would say is, that's the fifth thing, is too much of everything is bad. So don't try and automate everything.
Yeah.
Right? Level 1 is, I always say if it is level 1, level 2, level 3, L1, L2, L3, L1 is 80% automated, L2 can be right now 40% automated. L3 cannot be automated.
Got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Just to give you a
No,
balance there. So
that
that's
makes
my
sense. Fine.
closing remarks,
Yeah.
guys. I know I'm just on time, but
No,
that's thank
absolutely.
you.
Thanks, Shalil. Fine. And just two questions and probably pretty short one. I think one would be probably aptly for you. It's kind of Anand has asked a use case like in a typical text-based support, fine, which has become very common chat-based support. What happens is you are on a chat support, and after that it moves to a live agent. So his point is like how exactly the AI conversational AI agent comes into picture in such a scenario. Fine. So.
Yeah. Uh, it's a very short answer I would give it, Manish, to Anand. Anand has written this. Uh, Text-based scenario or a voice-based scenario. If there is a Gen AI, agentic AI behind the scene, channel does not really matters. The response is going to be exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
What I'm doing, I am creating a response in text or I'm creating a response in voice. But it's a Gen AI at the back end as an agentic AI I'm using to answer the question. So any channel can be incorporated, type of channel can be incorporated for the same integrated agentic AI at the behind the scene. So
Got it.
humans are very well sort of comfortable talking to somebody than actually writing text. Talking is faster than writing text, so there is an increase in experience there, I think. But other way, the technology side, there's not much to
Got
change.
it. Makes sense. Makes sense. And the other one, Jeremy, probably you can take up. There's a question from Ujjwal in terms of how do you see the human agent? I think you kind of covered it, but if you can talk once again just for Ujjwal's benefit, how the human agent life is going to evolve. Fine. How do you see role of human agent evolving as Gen AI augmented contact centers getting adopted more and more?
Yeah, I think one of the ways it's going to evolve, I actually think that going forward in these experience centers, and I love that definition, I can see augmented AI agents actually working for human beings. Now, if we think about it that way, I know at first it doesn't make sense, but the human has empathy, and we're nowhere close to being able to understand that today from a experience center perspective. So I think the humans are actually going, the employees are going to be able to take on a higher level role because they may be looking over 10 different 10 different experience cases at one time that the individual AI agents are doing, and then it's letting them know, hey, you need to step in here, here's all of the relevant information. So I think what it's going to do is it's going to create a higher value added type of role for the individual person itself. So I could see a world where the individual AI agents are actually working for the individual person itself.
Got
And
it.
then the other thing that I kind of wanted to think about is, as we're defining the process, what great looks like is when I call the experience center, it knows why I'm calling because it has all of that data ready. Once you get to that level of, and even if I can just be right 50 or 40% of the time, if I can be right, that's what's going to also significantly shift the tide in terms of experience scores, satisfaction scores. So we've got to think about the data. We've got to think about why that person's calling. And then as they're calling, we're seeing who they are, the information about them, and we're able to address them up front. And if we're not able to get that done in a timely manner, we've got a human on the back end that can go ahead and take it to resolution in an efficient time frame.
No, absolutely, absolutely. No, that's thanks, Jeremy. It kind of answers that. I mean, I think we are already on top of our. I mean, let me just take another few minutes to kind of conclude it and do that. So again, just first of all, thanks all three of you for your points in there. I thought that gives a good perspective. I mean, what you just talked about. End of day, what I really got out of it, and feel free to add if I miss anything. But what I got at end of day, the experience is what really matters. Fine, the technology is enabler for that experience, while the security becomes more and more important because the trust I would say elevates that experience better, or it's more an inhibitor. Fine, if you manage your security well, if you are able to build the trust into the system, into ecosystem, it will help your adoption. More and more people will adopt that technology, and it gives you better chance to continue to improve an experience. But I mean, if you are thinking of and coming back to Shalil, which is your one point, which I really like this, don't think about automating everything, and don't think about competing with humans, fine. And the point which really I think I will leave this discussion with is, technology is an enabler, but and it is how it has to be used, fine. And going to Jeremy's point, I mean, end of day, what matters to customer is getting the problem solved in the shortest time. So the technology has to enable it, and trust and this data security makes the customer more confident to be able to do that transaction leveraging media. Fine, that's what I could come really conclude in there. And thanks everyone for participating in this, and thanks Damodar, Shalil, Jeremy for your valuable inputs on this. It really
Thanks.
is an
Thanks.
eye opener thing. And
Thanks.
looking forward, anyone looking for any kind of implementation, feel free to reach out to Intera or any of the folks, the three speakers in there. Happy to help you in your journey on your contact center transformation. Thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody. Thanks,